Education. I believe an authoritative approach to teaching would be essential to mutual understanding and must be a part of the foundation of our religiosity for all time. The invention of the printing press ushered in a new age of information, and English was then adapted in order for the written word to be more readily understood by the masses. We should officially make it the main language since it is already popular, easy to learn, and linguistically flexible. In this way, we could minimize confusion across the spectrum and relay ideas to each other more effectively. The other languages would be important and should be secondary as the cultural differences in the interpretation may influence innovation and creativity. We must seek wisdom and develop it for applications religiously in order to improve ourselves and our civilization. I believe that we have no choice but to press on against ignorance, and that it would be an existential imperative that we be successful. The students must be taught the core of all the fundamental subjects to develop a well-rounded perception of themselves, the universe, and their place in it. All schooling should be tailored to be age appropriate so the children could gradually develop a conception of the world around them and of what would be expected of them. A standard must be implemented so that the pupils would be able to maintain their academic development and for them to more easily acclimatize to the changing aspects of machinery and settings. This should also include upgrading and retraining, which may be required for new projects. Not only must they be taught math, English, arts, and science, but things like management, engineering, psychology, and sociology, along with the basics of other subjects, should also be part of their curriculum. We must learn interpersonal skills to deal with each other, which would include manners and ethical principles in order to resolve issues amicably and to gain the social aptitude required to succeed. An interest in enhancing the environment should also be taught as a general rule, which would enable us to take care of each other and ourselves. Details should always be current, and the internet should be networked to be accessible anywhere. All information should be available, including ancient history, from every cultural perspective, in order to advance our comprehension of each other and to increase our ability to resolve problems that might emerge, which may have a pre-existing solution that could be innovatively applied to current circumstances. A diverse library of facts would give us insight about a variety of concerns we could face as we advance to higher levels in personal, sociological, and technological development. The database should be user-friendly to enable usage from novices to experts in every category. Drawing from multiple mainframes would ensure continual access if the local system should be down for repairs or upgrades. Studies should be tied to real-world industry so that the academias are familiar with the work they are expected to do, and there would be no better means than to incorporate it directly into their educational routine. In this manner, they would be able to move freely from study to employment with confidence. The educational system should promote rapid advancement of individuals, and the learners must be free to choose their own direction with support and guidance so that they may achieve their highest potential with maximum benefit for themselves and for our civilization. Schooling is an investment in our future, so all levels of academics ought to be free and open to allow for every venue to be engaged in so that the believers may gain doctorates in many fields of study and be expected to try to complete them all. Only the best equipment and materials should be used and kept up to date. Anything less would be a waste. Every advance must be applied for the greatest advantage for the individual and society. As an incentive, every effort should be rewarded to hearten all to further develop themselves so that they know that not only are their achievements important, but that their increased perceptiveness and experience would also make them more valuable as members of the religion. The early successful contributions of the initiates would serve to increase their status and persuade others to do as well. In this way, the group would be enterprising and capable of focusing on our aim of acquiring the wisdom to achieve our highest potential. The workplace/study and living areas should be beautifully enhanced to complement and inspire the adherents to put a religious effort in their endeavors in such a way that would be easiest for the populace to conform to. We would have to emphasize that there is a great responsibility which would be placed on their shoulders, because the success of the future lies with them. Like a fraternity or sacred order, it would be an existential imperative that we share a common bond that must be maintained indefinitely. We must have equal rights and opportunity regardless of age, race, or gender, and we should be free to put into practice all our interests. Knowledge is power, and through it we will be favorably suited to engage in sophisticated affairs, and not only would we rule the world, but we would gain the ability to move beyond it. We would need to have mutual respect for each other and for our goals, for in this collective we should be united to achieving excellence. The best performers must be given the status and recognition to serve as models for the others to aspire to and surpass. We shall be true believers when all our observations and successes are justly based and scientifically proven. Apprentices should make it a habit of evaluating ideas logically and creatively on a daily basis. Thinking subjectively and objectively would enable them to find and see patterns that may become useful and could be entertaining. Although they may not be practical and only imaginative, it would still be a part of the learning process for comprehending ourselves and each other, which could nevertheless be applied artistically. Members would be in a better position to deal with the world if they were trained with realistic expectations and a greater awareness of their part in the social order. The infrastructure should have support systems to help the people build their self-esteem and aid them to develop a regimented approach to their lives so that they could follow the fulfillment of their aspirations. Every effort must be made to nurture the children in a caring atmosphere so that they would possess a clear mind and have the feeling of being part of the family and of the community. In the past, the heart of invention was born out of the necessity to survive, and we learned to devise applications through the observation of the world around us and the sky above. The body of disciplines we now have today pushes the limits of what we can do. As we expand our minds and increase our proficiency, we would become capable of doing what was once thought impossible. The nature of insight implies that if an event should occur once, then it should be capable of happening again. The scientific method is a way to see how easily repeatable a result could be. Experimentation could help us discover ways that make effects function more reliably. We could find the simplest way to make stuff work by way of Occam's razor, which could aid in finding readily testable and usable applications. Modern innovations are mostly based on discovering better ways to do old things. Emphasis should be placed on methodical assessment to increase personal effectiveness. Creative thoughts could help to deal with abstract perceptions, while, with critical thinking, you would research concepts and weigh the pros and cons of ideas in order to test their validity. Since many new theories come from mavericks who think outside the box, we should support their ingenuity like we do with the artists, so that they are encouraged to see things in a different way to spark the imagination and inventiveness in others. All these things we should do faithfully, for they are the basis for truth and are the way to clarity, and thus must be the foundation of the new religion, which would usher in the age of enlightenment. May the propagation of ideation fulfill its promise for all of us. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? These are age-old questions that have plagued the minds of sages since the dawn of time. In my system, you would have the opportunity for self-determination in order to make a name for yourself. You would be able to follow your dreams, which would give a meaningful purpose for your existence. I believe that by striving for perfection, we would acquire the ability for self-perpetuation throughout the multiverse. In this way, all our questions could be answered, and we would then have the power to craft every conceivable application. I have a vision of a future filled with joy from accomplishments that we could all be proud of. I truly believe that although the challenge appears to be daunting, our progress would make it easier for us to eventually become godlike. Therefore, we should devote ourselves to the path of divination that leads the faithful to this transcendence.